someone asked Dustin the question, how did you meet? And he, without hesitation, oh, we met on Christian Mingle. And I was so mortified. The more I heard people reply with, me too, we met online too, after sharing our story, the less embarrassed I've become over time. I think it's worth trying if your circle's not changing. One thing that I want to warn about online dating. So my biggest fear with online dating wasn't necessarily with what I would experience, more with what other people would think about me. And I thought that it was way less common than it is. So in 1995, people who met through online dating was about 2% of the population. And the biggest one was through friends, which was 33%. And a lot of the other ones kind of grouped together around 15 to 19% at a bar, restaurant, at work, at school or college, or through your family. In 2017, that completely was different. 39% of couples had met through online dating, and the rest of them went down to 27% and below. It's way more common than I thought it was. And I met Dustin in 2020. So by then, who knows, the statistics might have even been increased even more. And even today, I'm sure actually in 2020, that changed a lot through, the shutdowns and everything. Because how were you going out? How were you meeting people? We're having many get-togethers with friends and family. So that ironically was the year that I met Dustin. I was so afraid of it because I was afraid of what other people would think of me. I was afraid that it was something that was for those who are desperate, those who were insecure and desperate for a relationship and needed a relationship to feel fulfilled, needed a relationship to find purpose, to feel loved. But God had taken me through such a beautiful process of my life where he showed me that I was already living out the greatest love story of the history of the world, which is a relationship with Jesus Christ. So there's no missing out there. So I was not desperate. I was not really insecure, other than I was worried about what people would think of me. I was worried about what my leaders, my friends, my family, I was embarrassed about it. But I was 25, and the only person who had asked me out in a while was a really young kid while I was at work one day. And kudos to him for having the confidence and the courage to go for it. But he was just too young for me at the time. And I don't think he had Christian values. But a lot of Christian men weren't coming up to me and asking me out. So when my sister said, let's do this, let's sign you up, let's make it happen, I was just partially so scared of what people would think of me, but mostly excited about what the possibilities could be. And that's what I really learned through Christian Mingle, which is the website that she signed me up for. I learned that it was not necessarily a site full of desperate men and women. Well, I don't know about the women because I only talk to men. But it was more of a place where you're interacting with somebody who has the same goal in mind, at least short term, which is to find somebody. And that was the cool thing, was that there was the same purpose and alignment. Even if there were other issues down the line, it took pressure off, pursue or respond, just knowing that the person on the other side is there for a relationship. Online dating, it does have people who are desperate, who are insecure, who are just looking for self-fulfillment and looking for someone to love, but maybe their foundation isn't settled on God like it should be. But there are plenty of people whose foundation is strong in the Lord and whose foundation is good. And I say, go for it. I even told somebody, I remember when Dustin met my friends for the first time. So a group of my friends came to visit, and he came the same weekend to visit. We're at my house and we're on the back porch hanging out. It's summertime, early evening, hanging out. I go inside. While I'm gone, someone asked Dustin the question, how did you meet? And he, without hesitation, oh, we met on Christian Mingle. And I was so mortified when I came out and my friend told me that he just shared it with everyone. I was so embarrassed because I had this stigma around online dating, that it was dangerous, that it was, for the lonely, desperate people. But really, it's for people who are trying to find somebody and they don't go to bars. Dustin and I we don't live a lifestyle where we're attending bars. We don't have a lot of friends who aren't already married, or our circles weren't growing. Our work communities weren't growing. And we were at an age where else do we look? The more I heard people reply with, "Me too, we met online too," after sharing our story, the less embarrassed I've become over time. So now right away, if anybody says, "Oh, where did you meet?" "Oh, we met on Christian Mingle." And I've heard so many people just say, "Me too." At first it was the people saying, "Oh, I know somebody who met." And it was kind of the sympathetic response. "Oh, I know somebody who met on Christian Mingle." But the more we interacted with other people, the more we found that it's way more common. And it's not embarrassing. You will have such a better experience with online dating if your foundation is already built on the Lord and built on His love and trust, and your confidence is in Him, and your value is rooted in Him, your worth is rooted in Him. Then those things cannot be translated and be rooted in another person, because another person is not enough. Only God is enough for those things. But when we put our confidence in Him, when we cast our insecurities at His feet, when we lay down every burden, every lie of the enemy, every part of ourselves, we give fully to Him, and we let the Lord just work in our hearts, and we let Him heal the things that have been hurt from the past. We let Him mend the things. We let Him uproot the things that need healing before we can enter a relationship. When we have that foundation built, it's going to make your experience so much better with dating, so much safer, so much more security. It's going to be so much healthier. One thing that I want to warn about online dating is that the roller coaster of a relationship shortens in the time span. And what I mean by that is, when you meet somebody, there's that excitement and that joy. When that starts to fade, or they lose interest, or you start to lose interest, and then the rejection starts to come, and then it hurts and it's hard. Sometimes in online dating, that can happen really fast. Whereas in a relationship with somebody face to face, that might take a year of time, or whatever, 6 months. It can happen in a month. It can happen in a couple weeks. How you have that excitement, that, oh yeah, and then the rejection, and things can come quicker. So just beware and be ready not to put up a wall, but to guard with wisdom. Just be wise with your heart and let God guide you and lead you, and don't do it alone. I was able to talk with other friends during the process. They would give it to me straight and be like, "Look, this guy I don't think this is right, and you don't deserve that." And I was able to heed that advice, and that was right before I met Dustin. So I'm really glad that I opened up and wasn't afraid to say, "Hey, I'm trying out online dating and I'm struggling. I need some help. I need somebody. I need some guidance. I need some objective viewers to help me through this process." But if you're a Christian and you've heard a lot of bad things about online dating, those things could be true, but there's a lot of good stories too. And I think it's worth trying if your circle's not changing. The Bible says he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So that means there's some effort in that. And if you're not on a college campus anymore, or you're not in a job with a lot of people anymore, like I worked in an office, it was mostly women and almost everyone was married. Anyway, so like there was no pool for me. I'm glad I gave it a shot. I'm really glad I did it. I'm really thankful that I met my husband, Dustin. He's wonderful and amazing. And I know that God has brought us together, and don't be afraid. Don't let what other people think stop you. Just have wisdom